Welcome to UXL, where you can learn new skills anytime and anywhere. Visit uxl.com to explore our full course selection. This lesson is part of a larger course. Check the video description below for a link to the full course where you can enroll. If you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe. For your convenience, the course cover displayed on your screen provides the complete course title and lesson title. Let's proceed with the lesson. Lesson Heuristics and Biases. Heuristics and biases play a pivotal role in shaping economic decisions, often diverting them from the predictions of traditional economic models that assume rational behavior. Behavioral economics bridges this gap by integrating psychological insights into economic theory. This lesson delves into the nuances of heuristics and biases, elucidating their impact on economic decision-making. Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky's pioneering work in the 1970s laid the foundation for understanding heuristics and biases. Heuristics are mental shortcuts or rules of thumb that simplify decision-making processes. While these cognitive strategies can be efficient, they often lead to systematic errors or biases. Biases are predictable deviations from rationality that occur due to the application of these heuristics. One prominent heuristic is the availability heuristic, where individuals assess the probability of events based on the ease with which examples come to mind. For instance, people tend to overestimate the likelihood of dramatic events such as plane crashes or terrorist attacks because these events are heavily reported in the media, making them more salient in memory. This bias can lead to suboptimal economic decisions, such as excessive spending on insurance for rare events while neglecting more probable risks. Another key heuristic is the representativeness heuristic, which involves judging the probability of an event based on how similar it is to a prototype or stereotype. This can lead to the conjunction fallacy, where people incorrectly believe that specific conditions are more probable than a single general one. For example, when presented with a description of Linda that fits the stereotype of a feminist, participants in a study by Tversky and Kahneman deemed it more likely that Linda was both a bank teller and a feminist than just a bank teller, despite the latter being statistically more probable. This bias can skew economic judgments, such as overestimating the success of startups that fit a certain entrepreneurial archetype. The anchoring effect is another significant heuristic, where initial exposure to a number or value influences subsequent judgments and decisions. In an experiment, participants were asked to estimate the number of African countries in the United Nations. When first presented with a random number as a potential anchor, their estimates were biased towards this number. In economic contexts, anchoring can affect pricing strategies, wage negotiations, and investment decisions. For example, investors might anchor to a stock's past high price, leading to overvaluation and suboptimal investment choices. The endowment effect, a bias closely related to the status quo bias, reflects people's tendency to overvalue items they own compared to similar items they do not own. Kahneman, Netsch, and Thaler demonstrated this through experiments where participants demanded higher prices to sell items they owned than they were willing to pay to acquire the same items. This bias can impede market transactions and lead to inefficiencies, such as homeowners overpricing their homes due to sentimental attachment. Loss aversion, a concept integral to prospect theory developed by Kahneman and Tversky, posits that individuals experience losses more intensely than equivalent gains. This asymmetry can profoundly influence economic behavior. For instance, investors are often reluctant to sell losing stocks to avoid realizing a loss, a phenomenon known as the disposition effect. This aversion to loss can also explain why people are more likely to take risks to avoid losses than to achieve gains, impacting everything from consumer spending to business strategies. Confirmation bias, the tendency to favor information that confirms existing beliefs while disregarding contradictory evidence, can also distort economic decisions. This bias can be particularly detrimental in investment contexts, where investors might ignore warning signs about a company's performance if they are overly optimistic about its prospects. It can also reinforce market bubbles, as investors collectively ignore signs of overvaluation. Overconfidence is another pervasive bias that affects economic decision-making. People often overestimate their knowledge, abilities, and the precision of their information. This bias can lead to excessive trading in financial markets, as overconfident investors believe they can outperform the market, despite evidence suggesting that frequent trading typically results in lower returns. Overconfidence can also affect entrepreneurs, who might overestimate the likelihood of their venture's success, leading to suboptimal allocation of resources. The framing effect illustrates how the presentation of information can influence decision-making. Kahneman and Tversky showed that people react differently to choices depending on whether they are framed as gains or losses. For example, individuals are more likely to opt for a sure gain over a probabilistic one, but prefer a probabilistic loss to a certain loss. In economic contexts, framing can affect consumer behavior, marketing strategies, and policy decisions. For instance, framing a tax as a penalty rather than a discount can significantly influence taxpayer compliance. Understanding heuristics and biases is crucial for policymakers and economic agents aiming to design interventions that mitigate these cognitive errors. Behavioral insights have been applied to various fields, including finance, health, and public policy. For example, nudges are subtle changes in the choice architecture that can guide individuals towards better decisions without restricting their freedom of choice. Automatic enrollment in retirement savings plans is a nudge that leverages inertia to increase savings rates, countering the bias of procrastination. Despite the insights provided by heuristics and biases, it is essential to acknowledge the limitations and ongoing debates within the field of behavioral economics. Some critics argue that the predictive power of these biases is context-dependent, and that individuals can learn to overcome specific biases through experience and education. Moreover, there is an ongoing discussion about the ethical implications of using behavioral interventions, as they might manipulate individuals' choices without their explicit consent. In conclusion, heuristics and biases are fundamental to understanding economic decision-making and the deviations from the rational actor model. By recognizing and studying these cognitive shortcuts and their associated errors, behavioral economics offers valuable insights into human behavior and provides tools for improving economic outcomes. The integration of psychological factors into economic theory not only enriches our understanding of decision-making processes, but also facilitates the design of more effective policies and interventions. This concludes the lesson. We trust you found this video informative and engaging. To enroll in the complete course, please use the link provided in the description below. At UExcel, we are committed to your learning journey. Each course offers a certificate of completion, online support, and downloadable resource files to enhance your experience. If you found our content valuable, we invite you to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to supporting your continued pursuit of knowledge.